Oh yeah.
My upload's not as, yeah, your upload's better
Gotcha.
right now. Let's just say
It's
that.
yeah, I definitely haven't gotten anything weird with my internet. So, all right,
Yeah.
we are officially recording. So,
Cool.
Wade, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. So my name's Wade Sellers. I've been, since we're talking about remote work and such in this, I'll just go kind of that route.
Yeah.
I am an iPhone app developer, and I also run a high school coding program that brings iPhone app development into high school classes. I've
Okay.
been working remotely for a couple years now, and I left the US at the beginning of last year. So I'm just over a year of location independent outside of the US living. Uh,
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah,
Great,
it's been
great time
going
to
great.
celebrate that too, huh?
I know, right? Well, honestly, a great time to celebrate, but it's definitely like a great time to share it because
Yeah,
like we were talking about and why we're having this talk, there's a lot of people that are just diving into this and I have a lot to share and little tips and tricks that I've made this work along the way because, you get into it and then you do have to figure out ways to still maintain like
for
office
sure.
availability and collaboration with your team.
Sure.
And there's just a ton of tools and strategies that kind of work. And honestly, it's almost like tools and strategies, you can pick them up, you can Google the things, but there's also like the code of ethics
Oh my
and
God,
like
yeah,
how like actual rules of being a good remote employee,
for
especially if
sure.
everyone else is still in the office and you're the remote guy. Like you
The
have to
etiquette is, yeah,
etiquette for sure is an important part. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my deal. I spend my days now working on high school curriculum, talking to teachers and helping them, teach their kids code. And then I create video content, which just started out as fun, and now I have a weekly newsletter, and I put out daily videos about app related news and such. And then I also create video content for our curriculum, so like supplemental videos talking about coding foundations and stuff like that. That's kind of my
sure.
spiel.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so I'll preface with how we kind of met each other was, I believe, just you were hanging out at Intermezzo. I was working there at the cafe at the time. And it was just funny because like I don't think knew at the time before we started talking that I actually did remote work as well, but it just kind of out of necessity, you started mentioning your industry. And I was like, oh, it's funny enough. I actually have been doing it. I think that's when you started talking about your trip to Bali. And I was like, dude, that's like the remote worker's dream because like I always worked on like the opposite end of the spectrum. And so I'll introduce that now. So my name is Rocco Bruno. I've been in the remote industry of employment so my field is mostly focused in marketing for content development, writing, editing, any sort of strategy work in brands and stuff like that. And so my remote work has mostly been, I've been a static spot and I would remotely work with offices just because contractors don't get the office benefits of getting to hang out in the office, don't get the company perks or any of that stuff, but we're still a team member. So being in an area definitely helps. But I've had just as many contracts that were based out of like Toronto, LA, Japan, and like all these different people would just Zoom call me and I could just work with them, pop in, find out what they needed, start the work, and then send it back. And so, majority of my remote work has actually been trying to be in one place and work with people all over the globe and kind of
Mhm.
pull in different concepts to where like there's a certain etiquette with how remote work is done because like obviously I'm not an office employee, but like I can't act like I'm Wolf of Wall Street style, just walk in whenever I want, do like copious amounts of alcohol in the middle of lunchtime. Although there have been days. I won't say there haven't been any days, but there have been days. Especially
Sure.
the last time we had an epidemic of this size. But and so basically, like what I've been doing now is I'm in the SaaS industry, writing for the B2B space. This company that I'm working with, CoAssemble, basically is a online training platform. We create authoring tools for people to basically make whatever learning and training content they want, share that knowledge with their team, get real life
Cool.
stats with it. And it's also a great way to create interactive, engaging content. How many times have you probably seen content that you didn't make where you're like, it's just an 18-page PDF. This doesn't make me want to do anything versus,
Yep.
hey, this is an interactive exhibit or this is an interactive challenge of sorts. And so like, that's kind of what like our method area is, which is like awesome because we're right now helping a lot of teams get online remotely. And so I thought that's why we could both have our different unique perspectives on like what remote
Mhm.
work means and like what tips, tricks we've learned over those years, but also like how we kind of in our respective industries are doing stuff to help the communities in our immediate scope as well as on a global level.